Greetings, fellow hunters. Today I shall say the harsh truth that we all know. Monster Hunter Wilds should not have come out. Not yet, and not in this state. In this video I'll show proof and tell you why. It's not all doom and gloom, however, and I'll try to be as objective as possible. Let's get started. When I say that Monster Hunter Wilds, from now on called Wilds for short, should not have come out, obviously the main reason is the performance, and if you go to Steam and look at the reviews, they reflect that. The user score has grown from 42% of positive reviews at the moment of recording of the video to 52% positive reviews the day after when I'm putting this video together. For comparison, Monster Hunter World is sitting at a nice 88% positive reviews. There is no doubt in my mind that if the game worked well, we'd have an even better score, as I can see the game being a 9+ out of 10. But it is not, and that's the problem. Digital Foundry has been denied the key to a PC version ahead of the release, and surely enough, it's because the state of the PC port is downright pathetic. The game may look like shit, even on the highest settings, but it surely runs like shit, even on the lowest ones. Not to mention, the game on minimal settings looks terrible, downright criminal, as if we moved back in time to the PS2 days and Monster Hunter 1. Don't worry though, you can experience the PS2 graphics even if you play at maxed out settings. And yes, it's like that for everyone, as far as I'm aware. I've asked 3 of my friends, and all of them had the same issues, and I even went to Asmongold's stream to see if he had the same graphical issues on literally the best PC setup you can have at the moment, and surely enough, he did. What you're looking at is what happens when the game fails to load its textures properly and defaults to the worst version it has, I suppose. And it happens all the time, in cutscenes and in gameplay. I'm sure you've noticed that as well in the footage you're watching. I know it's a bit later into the game, about 4 hours into my playthrough. 4 or 5, give or take. My original idea was to just play through the game very quickly by myself and then decide on what I want to record about it. But seeing what the game is, I needed to talk about it. Mainly because before playing the game, I watched a lot of the reviews, and even those who said that the technical performance isn't really flawless, no one quite said how bad it is. Like, they downplayed it by a lot. I don't even know what to say. Anyway, getting back on track. I've played Monster Hunter Rise recently, and I kept thinking to myself, wow, the game looks like shit. I can't wait to play Wilds, it'll surely look so much better than World. And oh boy, was I wrong. The game can absolutely spaz out and look worse than Rise, which, need I remind you, was a fucking Switch game. But surely that can be fixed. Which doesn't excuse the fact the game actually launched in such a state for full price. The worst part? The performance. I do not believe it can just be fixed even in a year from now on. Why, you may ask? Because Dragon's Dogma 2 came out a year ago, and if you aren't aware, it's an open-world action RPG just like Monster Hunter, made by Capcom, same as Monster Hunter, on the same engine as Monster Hunter. And you know what? It had the same performance, luckily not graphical, issues as Wild does. They had all the data and all the foresight, and they did nothing about it. This is absolutely the worst case scenario. I do not think we can expect meaningful performance uplift. At best, they just iron out the kinks with whatever the fuck the game does now with its graphical appearance. And you know what surely isn't helping the performance? De novo. The anti-pirate software that's so ingrained into the game's code that it can impact the game's performance by as much as 10 to 20%. Hogwarts Legacy is a pretty famous example. The pirated version without the de novo ran nearly 20% better in some scenarios than the game with de novo in place. There are games where de novo can absolutely run without many problems, like Lies of P. However, that requires a game that's very well optimized and de novo is implemented in a smart way. To me, it feels like Monster Hunter Wilds barely holds up with duct tape and prayers of Capcom, and then they just slapped the Nouveau on top of it and launched it. The game can look good at moments, of course. It does look better than World if the game works, which at this point in time is quite rare. The negative reviews of the game are all pretty much about performance, and the state of the game is a criminal case. Dare I say it rivals Cyberpunk 2077's launch. Unfortunately, we already lost. The game peaked at 1.3 million players, where World peaked at just 300,000, which before Wilds was Capcom's biggest success. So you can just imagine how much better this is. Capcom is too busy counting all the money to hear our cries. I think the review score is well deserved, but it's still too high. If you care at all, please leave a negative review, even if you like the game, and just tell Capcom they need to fix their shit, because the current state is unacceptable. Okay, well, I guess that about does it for the negatives. And you may be surprised why I'm not talking about the difficulty. And may I surprise you, I do not think the game is quite too easy. Well, maybe it is at first, for the first few hunts, but I don't think it's such a bad thing. You can just get through them very quickly and then move on. And later on, I don't really want to spoil the monsters, but let me just tell you one example. When you fight the Ufduna, which I think is the name of the forest apex monster, that's pretty much the first rather rougher fight where you might cart or have any issues. And from that point onwards, it's not rare to actually have some difficulties with the fights. And I do not think it's a bad thing. The game doesn't need to be Dark Souls or whatever else. It doesn't need to be the hardest game in the world. And as someone who has, I don't know, let's say 400 hours in the previous entries, I found it rather enjoyable, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it, at least for now. My biggest critique on the topic would be monster health. They seem to die way too quickly, and I think it would be a lot better if the monsters had about double the health they have now, and if not, at least 50% more. I'll put it on screen now, but I managed to hunt one of the new monsters in just 3 minutes. I don't think I've ever had such a quick time in any previous games. Even in Rise, monsters that were absolute pushovers and you could spam your wireback attacks on them, even they took like 7 to 10 minutes, so this is absolutely unheard of. The biggest praise I can give to Monster Hunter Wilds is that the monsters are absolutely amazing in their design. I've only played World and Rise, however, along with their DLCs, but the monsters in Wilds are just a whole level above the monsters from the previous entries, which is, well, the most important part of the game, I suppose. The armor and weapon designs are also amazing, and the music is very good too. So that's kind of what pains me, because there is an amazing game underneath the shit. It's as if you went to your favorite restaurant to order your favorite meal, and you're so looking forward to it, knowing that it will be amazing, but then someone shits on your plate, and you know that the amazing meal is somewhere there, underneath all that shit, but when you eat it, there's no denying that you're still eating shit, and that's all I can say about the experience. If they fix the performance somehow, and at least iron out the kinks, then the game will at least be playable and more enjoyable to people with the PCs who can handle and just brute force the game to work. But for now, I advise you to wait for at least a month or two, or however long it takes them to actually update and patch the game. Because I think you would be doing yourself a disservice by playing this, dare I say, masterpiece, if it works, and it doesn't work now, but you would be doing yourself a disservice by experiencing it at its worst. And I think it's worth experiencing it at its best. That's all from me for now. I'll probably make several more videos, so if you're interested, then please make sure to leave a subscribe, and if you agree with what I said, feel free to also leave a like, I would highly appreciate it. And as always, you're more than welcome to discuss with me in the comments. And for now, please take care and stay awesome.